Hi, here we are with the first essay of the semester, the Argument of Fact essay. The Argument of Fact essay is to be a minimum of 1,000 words long. Now please remember the word minimum means the least. It does not mean the most. Okay, so you can certainly write more than 1,000 words. Now, you start writing a 3,000 word essay, you might want to back down a little bit from that and say, well, this is not quite right. But, 1,000 goes up to maybe, say, 1,400, something maybe 1,600, something in that range. You will be fine. In which you present and support an argument of fact as defined in Everything's an Argument, Chapter 8. So essentially, after you've read Chapter 1, you should jump to Chapter 8 in Everything's an Argument. Your essay must cite a minimum of 4 sources, 3 of which originate in print or have print analogs. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that they have to be actual print sources, but they need to come from print sources. So things like newspapers, journals, books, magazines, and very importantly, academic journals. Okay. Or an analog, something that comes out at the same time. So for example, an article from the New York Times online is the same as the article from the New York Times in print. These sources must be presented in correct MLA fashion with parenthetical in-text documentation and a works cited page. Dictionaries, encyclopedias, and other general reference works do not count as sources. So I want some really good sources, okay? Not just, oh, I looked up in the dictionary. No, I don't think so. At least 2 sources must be from dissertations, scholarly journals, or university press books. Okay, so those are scholarly works. Now, you might say to yourself, how do I find such things? And the answer is simple. Use the Mesa College library databases. We do have a library that is open during the summer, I believe, but also can be accessed remotely, i.e. online. Okay, the databases that we have include 2 very important databases, including JSTOR, J-S-T-O-R, or EBSCOhost. And EBSCOhost has the possibility of finding peer-reviewed journals, right, the scholarly journals I'm talking about. And JSTOR is all journals. That's the J of JSTOR. University press books can also be found in our Mesa library. And again, a lot of them are available in online form through our library. Okay, dissertations are a little trickier to find, but they can be found both through, I believe, ProQuest and Google Scholar, if you want to go that route. Your essay must contain at least 1 table or figure properly noted and incorporated into the text, found on the MLA website at MLA format. So you just click on this little link right here, and it will take you there. There is also an access through our modules. If you go down to modules, I do have a link to the MLA website as well. You must also provide a word count of your essay at the end of the text. That's really easy to see. Do not include the name block, works cited, page entries, or table or figure in the word count if you can help it, because they just really super amplify the word count. Now the topic will be a topic of your own choosing. Okay, so you get to choose your own topic to write about, but it needs to be appropriate for the argument of fact. Not all arguments are arguments of fact. That's why you need to look at Chapter 8. I also have a handout posted in the module on fact, so that you can see some examples. Okay, I have some example topics. These examples are not intended to be exclusionary. In other words, I'm not saying you can only write on the topics that I mentioned, because I'm just trying to give you an idea of what would make for a good topic. Okay. Now, there are a few topics that are off limits. I will not accept papers on abortion, death penalty, child abuse, or religion. Okay, so forget about those. You have plenty of other things to write about. Now remember, one of the things that I like to say all the time, this is an online class, so you're probably not going to hear me say it as often as my poor students in the classroom would hear it. Good writing begins with good ideas. But good ideas are not easy to find. Bad ideas are easy to find. Mediocre ideas are easy to find. Good ideas, got to push a little more. So here we are today, assigning the work. You have some time. You have until Wednesday, June 29th, okay, to write up a rough draft. Now, if before we get to the rough draft, you would like me to, comment to you about your paper. Say, hey, Mr. Hoffman, can you give me some feedback? I'm happy to give you feedback on ideas and topics. I do not do proofreading of rough drafts and stuff like that. But if you say, I was thinking about writing about wah, 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 and I'll say, oh, that's a great idea. Or I'll say, nah, maybe we need to improve that. Or, oh my God, no, I don't think so. All right, so it'll be something like that. But by Wednesday, June the 29th, you will need to have a rough draft. Now, the draft should be as full and complete as possible, meeting all minimum standards required for the assignment. The more work you put into the draft, the better your final draft will be, because we're going to be peer editing these rough drafts. Okay, so if I'm peer editing something that's a page and a half, that's not nearly as good as peer editing something that's 5 pages long and has a works cited page already done, right? In other words, I want to have my essay as full and complete as possible by Wednesday the 29th. Now, you do have until 11:59 p.m., so you have all of Wednesday to get this together too, okay? So you have the full extra day. Be sure to consult the out-of-class paper guidelines and MLA handbook, should you own one, or my handouts that I have available on Canvas, if you don't, to avoid errors in presentation and style. By the way, there's a section in Everything's an Argument, which of course you should have because it is our textbook. Go to chapter 22, which is the Documenting Sources chapter, and that does have a very nice section on MLA. So if you don't have the handbook, don't freak out. You have chapter 22 in our book. I also have a handout that's 2 pages long, or think of it as one sheet back to back, right? That will help you with presentation and style. Now, once we do this, we're going to create peer editing groups, okay? And I'll have to explain next week when we get to there how this will work. But basically, you will be reading rough drafts written by a few of your peers. They will be reading yours. You will be giving feedback to each other on these peer edits. And that is to be done by Friday, July the 1st, 11:59 p.m. In other words, you have 2 days to do it. You will need to revise and polish your essay and turn in the final draft on Tuesday, July the 5th, 11:59 p.m. So we get, because there's a 4th of July holiday on Monday, you get that extra day, shall we say, to put all this together. So, I mean, this is good news because essentially this means we have 2 full weeks to do this paper. Now, considering this is a summer session, right, that's really nice, okay? In a regular semester, it might be 4 weeks. No late essays will be accepted without a verifiable medical or legal excuse. So don't just turn stuff into me and say, I was sick. Well, you're going to have to prove to me you were sick, okay? Or I had to go to jail. You have to prove to me you were in jail, right? Usually some document or another will be sufficient. But don't just say, I had a work conflict. You got 2 weeks to write this paper. Some work conflict at the last minute is not going to be an acceptable excuse. Now, let's just go over the minimum requirements just so everybody knows and understands. You need to have at least 1,000 words, okay? This is only your composition. It doesn't include the works cited page. It doesn't include the table or figure. You need to have at least 4 sources, all cited in the paper. Now, 4 sources can be more than 4 sources. Again, let me emphasize, this is a minimum, not a maximum. At least 3 of those sources must originate in print or have print analog. Okay, so in other words, they are books, magazine articles, newspaper articles, scholarly journals, dissertations, government reports, that sort of thing. At least 2 of the sources are scholarly works. As I said, that means a dissertation, academic journal, or university press book. The essay has to have a table or figure properly done. So we want to make sure we incorporate the table or figure into our essay. This is a special thing that we're doing. Okay, it's kind of an additional add-on, if you will. And MLA documentation for both in-text and works cited page. Okay, so if you do APA, expect me to be very, very, very unhappy with you. Okay, or any other format. We're doing MLA. That's what we do in English. Now, finally, most important perhaps, please make sure that if you have any questions, you contact me, okay, by Canvas message inbox or by the email that is on your syllabus. Do not hesitate to get a hold of me and say, hey, Mr. Hoffman, I don't understand, wah, 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 wah. Or what's going on with this, or what should I do about that? Can you tell me if this is a good topic? What do you mean by academic source? Is this an academic source? You know, blah, blah. Always best to ask. Always best to ask the question, okay, so I can respond to you, rather than make an assumption or just say, I don't want to bother him and wind up with something that's not good. Don't want to have that happen. Okay? Good luck.